Hi, my name is Russell Martin, and I want to welcome you to the new season of the UMY Lead Podcast. Today, we're trying something different. I have three of my friends, Lisa Gill, Mary Strickland, and JT Larue, who are joining me for a conversation about ministry during the coronavirus. We've all done things that have worked, and we've all done things that haven't worked, and we're trying brand new ways of doing ministry. And so we're going to have a conversation about those things. What's working, what's not, what we will continue to do once this is over, and what we will stop doing and not go back to. I hope that this conversation encourages you, equips you, and empowers you for ministry to your students. So without any further delay, here's part one of our two-part conversation about ministry during the coronavirus. Hey, welcome to the UMY Lead Podcast, and this is episode 13, and I'm glad you're here. I hope the time that we spend gives you some thoughts, ideas, encouragement to strengthen your ministry to your students and help you be more effective. So today we're trying something new. We have three guests instead of just one, and so I'm going to ask a question, and we have about 10 questions we're going to kind of talk about. And so I'll ask a question, and then everybody has a chance to answer and talk, and if we'll probably get off topic somewhere or something like that, but we'll see where it goes. But before we start, we kind of just did this so we got to meet each other. But for everybody watching, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us how long you've been in ministry and where you're serving. So I'm going to go with mine. I'm going to go around a circle like this. So Lisa, go ahead.
My name is Lisa Gill. Hello, everyone. I am currently serving at Holy Covenant United Methodist Church in Katy, Texas, which is in the Houston area. I have been in youth ministry I think about 11 years total, full-time vocational ministry for about 6 now.
All right, JT.
Hey everybody, I'm Pastor JT Larue. I'm a pastor at Hope Community UMC, but I'm also the director of Next Gen Ministries at First Pasadena here in the Houston area in Pasadena. I've been in youth ministry pretty much full time since 2015. I've volunteered for a decade before that, and then finally jumped in, and it's good to talk to you guys today.
And Mary?
All right. Hey, my name is Mary Strickland. I am the pastor of Youth and College Student Ministries at First United Methodist Church in Tupelo, Mississippi. I am currently a licensed local pastor in the Mississippi Annual Conference, and I'm excited to be here today. I've been serving since 2017 in youth ministry.
And my name is Russell Martin. I am the pastor to students at Williams Memorial United Methodist Church in Texarkana, Texas. I've been doing student ministry for 25 years, off and on, as far as part-time, full-time, and those type of things. And so I'm glad to be here. And I'm excited because I was telling JT, I sat down and we actually have, I set this one up, and then I messaged a couple people, and I have 6 podcasts each week set up. Or not each week, 6 weeks of podcasts set up going forward from here. So we'll have everything from college ministry to how to equip new youth leaders and volunteers and stuff. Just a whole bunch of topics that I'm looking forward to. But today we're going to be talking about how COVID-19 has changed youth ministry. And there's probably some things, something I've asked y'all before, there are probably some things that you stopped doing when everything started that you probably won't start back up again. And there's probably some things that you started doing during this that you were like, why haven't I done it this way all along? So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about and how we're going. But the first thing I want you to start you off with an easy question. And so you've all been in the pandemic. You've been in quarantine in your houses for long periods of time. So what is your go-to snack or a snack that you've discovered during this time that maybe now your go-to snack? Yeah, I'm not going to call on people. Y'all just jump in and we'll go.
I've been eating lots of fruit because I'm trying to be healthier and not eat a bunch of junk, because if it's in the house, then I will eat it. And more than a snack, I have found a favorite drink that I really like, and it is coconut LaCroix with the true lemon or lime drink mixes. They're my jam right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've not tried those. Who else?
Yeah, me either.
I recommend it. It's like a little treat in the afternoon.
If as far as snacky food, probably popcorn, like all the time, because it's so easy to throw in there. But like Lisa, trying to be a little healthier. Not that popcorn's super bad, but I've been eating lots of whatever the fruit is in the season. So during the summer, it was watermelon, which is my favorite fruit to begin with, but constant watermelon, always keeping one in the house. My wife has this real cool way of skinning it and getting the most of the red meat out of it. And then other than that, now it's switched to peaches. So constant, if I get snack hungry, then I go grab a peach. But late at night, I just can't not have a bag of popcorn before going to bed. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I have with me a shake, and I didn't do this on purpose because my husband made this for me just a minute ago since I'm still in quarantine. And it looks disgusting, but it's so good. This is actually a vanilla shake with all my greens that I need for the day. And that has helped me really push through quarantine. But I will say, funny story is last week when I did have to run into quarantine away from my husband, I grabbed a whole pack of bananas and some water bottles and some cashews and went and hid in my little isolated corner. So that has been one of the things I've tried to do. And also dragon fruit. I have discovered dragon fruit, and it is so good.
Well,
it's hard to get here, but it's good.
I feel bad because y'all had smoothies and popcorn and fruit and watermelon and stuff. And Scooby snacks are really my jam. So the little cinnamon Scooby snacks, like I have to refrain from putting them on the Walmart order list all the time because I will eat them when they come in. So, all right, Lisa, you shared an article on the TXC UMC Youth Directors page, and if y'all are in the Texas conference or even not, we'll even let people come in and hang out with us. But you shared an article by Chris Wilterdink. And it talked about how churches can become sanctuaries for learning. And so I'll put the link in the comments for anybody else who wants to read that. But what are some of the ways that your church is, or have you thought about how your church could reach and provide a service to the community at this time? So what are ways that you can connect your church and some things that you can offer as a church to the community during the lockdown and shutdown and quarantine?
I have an idea on this, but we haven't implemented this, but I'd love to share it because it might work a little bit better for someone who's listening to this. We have a church bus, a really small church bus. And one thing that I've proposed that we could do is if there are students who don't have access to Wi-Fi or something else, go and pick up a route of, 10 to 15 kids, whatever's within CDC guidelines, and set up our youth area where we have a projector. Maybe they could tune into their classes that way, or just use the Wi-Fi that we have. I think that's a really cool way to use the resources that we have available.
We have discussed as part of our staff the article that I shared from Chris and UMC Young People's Ministry. Our school district where we are located has, they're starting online, but I have a feeling they'll move pretty quickly to in-person is sort of their schedule, and they haven't changed that in a while. So we're sort of kind of waiting and seeing if we think there will be a need past 3 weeks, then that's going to be something that we're going to look into. We also have a preschool that meets on our campus, and so that gets a little tricky for us because even though they have their own separate building, they use our main space that we would need to use to be a hub for something like that. So in the meantime, we've been just really supporting our educators in our community and that are part of our faith community, and just trying to be a resource and donate to those local organizations that are helping students. And we're just kind of waiting really to see what the need is in our community right now.
For those of us in Pasadena, in our zip code area, I'm on the What's Next team is what they call it at our church, the team that decides when you get to come back and worship in-house, right? And not at your house, but in the church house, right? But our Pasadena zip codes is the worst right now, statistically speaking, for positivity rates, the worst zip code in all of Harris County. And so it puts a strain on that ability to do anything, even help where help is actually probably needed. Partnering actually is probably the best way that we've been able to do this from you're talking about the day school meeting in your building. So our day school has taken upon themselves to provide a program for parents where anyone up to, because of their licensing, anyone up to the age of 5th grade has the ability to come and stay there all day with the day school. That they have, licensed people there with them. And so my support in that is less traditional in the sense of pastoral, or even as a youth director, but more from my background in IT and setting up the church facility for them to be able to do that. I would say that relationship between the day school and kind of lifting that up for us has been really, really good, and helping them do what they do best. That's probably been a cool thing that's come out of this. And that's at the moment, I wish we could do more. We're just really, really restricted. So
I've thought about our youth center and setting it up if the need was there for it. I think we're kind of where Lisa talked about, like, we could move to that if we needed to, and allow our Wi-Fi. We really just continued what we normally do as far as school supplies and things like that, because no matter if you're at home or at school, you still need school supplies to do all these things. And so that was our contribution. And then we're just constantly trying to think and look and see what ways, other ways we can help as things go through. But anything else y'all thought of? Yeah, so I realized I started off with 2 tough questions. So the next question, if you figure this next one out, then you can probably write a book, publish it right now, and sell it to everybody. But the question the question is, Zoom fatigue is real. And we all know this, engaging online. So what are some ways, if you have found any, or what are some ways you have heard of, or something new, the next thing you're trying? Maybe it's just the fact that you've tried all these things and it hasn't worked, and here's your next 3 things you're going to try. What are some ways that you've either kept students engaged on Zoom, or other ways you've maintained a connection with them?
Gosh.
Everybody's shaking their heads.
We're like, oh my gosh, I don't even have the answer to that. For us, Sunday school has gone pretty well. And I'm not new in ministry, but new in this context. I've moved in the middle of COVID, which that's its own set of fun. But instead of doing weekly Zooms, especially during the summer, I've been doing like Zoom events, so that it's not one more Zoom that they're added to, and those have gone pretty well. I always joke I'm not above bribery, so prizes, even if it's something really like, silly, but prizes kind of seem to help. Anything competitive, depending on your group. I've also sent handwritten notes, and I have some kids that want to FaceTime individually and stuff, and so that's just a way to stay engaged outside of Zoom too with them.
Lisa, what are some of those events that you've done? If you
sure. I mean, we've played bingo. The Jackbox games are great. The ones with family filters are a must. You really want those family filters on Jackbox games. But the kids really like playing those. And so those have been some really good things we've done. I know lots of youth directors have been doing movie nights, and some other things like that, and talking about where they see. I know one youth group that I follow, that I'm friends with the directors, they will put out a poll and like, pick your movie out of these 3 for next week. And that way the kids had a say in what they're going to watch. And then they'll watch the movie together and then kind of talk about like where they see God in it and kind of the theology of what's happening in a movie. So I know for that particular group, it works really well.
They use like the Netflix watch it together thing, or I know there's a couple different.
I can't remember what she's been using, but I know you can do Netflix, or I think like if you have a DVD, you can just share the screen, right?
Share the screen.
Or if I think she said she has access to, like, between her and her family, they share all the streaming services. Yeah. And so she'll just share her screen and do it that way, because not everybody has Netflix or like a Facebook watch party either, something like that. So, yeah.
All right. What else? How else have you either maintained connection with students, or the golden egg question. Have you kept them engaged online on Zoom and things?
Mary, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I mean, this is such a tough one though that I almost hate to comment on it just because it has been such a struggle. I mean, genuinely, it has been so difficult. I'd say the best way I have stayed connected with students is just texting them, actually having conversation that way or commenting on their Instagram posts. I even tried TikTok and we made an account and I'm not funny enough or cool enough for TikTok.
Dance moves, yeah.
Right, yeah, no, I couldn't yeah, don't think I could do that stuff from the church account. But anyway, so we have tried some Zoom activities and games, and we have added to the calendar a Zoom evening prayer, and that is consistently a pretty good thing, but for a very small group of my students. So we have about 50 in our student ministry, and I'd say our percentage on Zoom through the summer, we probably interacted with about half of our kids. And now going into the school year, it feels even lower than that, unfortunately. So we have done Jackbox games. Quiplash is one of our favorites. And I have some really funny screenshots of some of their answers, just awesome. But so that's really been the most successful. And doing summer small groups, we were able to split up and we were able to see probably better interaction than we would right now. We are aiming for in-person stuff coming up, but we can get to that later. It's all very, very small, very tight guidelines. So anyway.
What did you use for the evening prayer? Or is that just a general time, or you have something guided that you take them through, or?
So I actually, my church is, it's a very traditional church, but we have the contemporary service as well that is growing, and it's been growing over the past 10 years. So I wanted to offer a little bit of liturgy and a more contemporary style for our students. And so for evening prayer, we follow, it's basically from the Book of Common Prayer. And I actually use the app, the Daily Office, which is awesome. If you don't already have that, it's a fantastic resource with morning and evening prayer. And so we focus on, that prayer that says, now that the Vesper light is upon us, we follow that whole thing. And the students really have enjoyed it. I let them pick out the Bible verses we read, or the Bible stories we read while we're going through that as well. Sometimes we even throw in some music when we have a kid who joins, who can play guitar. So cool. It's pretty fun.
JT, what do you got?
Well, mine's not as exciting as y'all's. My response immediately, in March when they started doing, they switched from in-person school, had to finish out their year, trying to figure out how to do it at home. I just wasn't one of those. I mean, I was fully supportive of Zoom, like the idea of it, even before the pandemic, doing Bible studies through it. But as soon as they started being on the computer for 8 hours a day, I was like, I can't make them do that more. And so I didn't feel right about it personally. And so and I didn't think they would engage with me, which is probably 100% correct. So instead, because I oversee children and youth, of course, my goal has been to at least touch base with them at a minimum of once or twice a week, if not in person by driving by their house for something, via text, Snapchat. I have a TikTok, but I've never used it. It won't make a dance video because I can't dance. But just the idea of that taking that time then to build relationship, even if it's meant just for one-on-one, and then inviting different ones to be in conversation with you. So like me and maybe 2 other students talking, or during the summer, we've done different things. So they've come and helped me at the church with different stuff. Because on Saturdays I take mainly for the children, I take it's like a little bag for Sunday worship, because you're not going to get a 5-year-old to sit down and watch Facebook Live with you to do church. So I made this little craft bag / candy. It's really a candy bag now, but I put candy in, so the youth will come up and help do that. So trying to get them involved, but on a very, very minimum. Like I said, my church is extremely strict. So I've kind of created a pods of help. And so just trying to minimize the social distancing and all that kind of stuff, involvement. But by doing that, though, I've never been in more communication with my students individually than I ever was before COVID. And so there's kind of a blessing in disguise there for that. I wish that we could do group events. Here in the Texas Conference, I'm in the South District, which is one of the most heavily involved districts where we do district events with each other. And we haven't got to do anything all summer, which is killer. And hopefully by the time Holiday Hoopla runs around, which is our Christmas event, we can get back together, because my kids are really missing their UM Army buddies and their different friends from other churches. And so there's only so much of me that they like to hang out with. So yeah.
One year I've heard about Holiday Hoopla all this time. So 1 year I'm gonna come crash, or I'm gonna bring some students and come crash Holiday Hoopla, and it's basically an all night lockout. Basically, is that right?
Yeah.
You rent a bus.
Mm-hmm.
Rent a bus and go. I mean, I went on a couple when I was in Alvin. I went when they were first starting doing those. Yeah. Back in the dark ages. So I mean, like, they pulled our bus with horses and things. So,
yeah.
We've already touched on this a little bit, but because you shared ways that we're doing this. But one of the things I run into being in the North District is I have youth directors who contacted me and said, "Hey, I see what you do on YouTube, and it's great, but my students don't have reliable, not just being online all the time, they actually don't have online, and cell reception is not even great." So JT, you talked about your driving around doing packets, but what are some other things that y'all have done or ways that you could suggest somebody reach out and even doing discipling and things like that with your students that don't have any access to technology at all?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't run into that in my personal situation with kids not having access to reliable internet. I think handwritten notes is something I always do. I always sort of historically have sent birthday cards. I kind of keep a birthday calendar by my desk, and the beginning of the month I write them all just because so I can get it done. And I send them a little like $5 Sonic gift card or whatever is the cool thing in your local context. So that's something to continue, just even if you don't get the feedback from them back that they know that you're thinking about them. I think it's called postable.com, where you can create cards and they'll actually mail them out for you. You don't have to do all of that work. And it's depending on if you have some resources, that is a good one. Another thing a friend of mine has been doing this summer is taking Sonic drinks to kids. And, either just dropping it off and standing in the driveway masked and very far apart and just talking like that, or even I've seen through like glass screen doors or whatever, safe ways and, to meet with kids when their parents are home, obviously. But that might be another way if they don't have internet, that at least you can still kind of be in connection with them.
JT, I know you did some things. What else have you, or?
I've done, so through I don't do this often. I've got two things that kind of go, so about once a month, I'll do a special big thing that I take out on Saturdays. So one time I kind of rode that train. There was the ding dong ditch thing where you took a box of ding dongs. I did that. They loved that. That was so awesome. That worked out really well. That was probably the best value dollar-wise, resource-wise, as far as engagement back. Oh my goodness, that was so cool. And then I've done, I have from Holiday Hoopla, I bought like those giant rolls of tickets, the double tickets, and so I've been doing drawings. So I've got one coming up for the end of August, and I give out a gift card for that. I'll do a Facebook Live drawing for it, and got really good reactions from that. I would say the biggest thing that you're trying to always go for is that reaction engagement back, right? In everything that we do. And so I've tried to focus not on doing things like every week because that gets tiring and it runs old, but trying to come up with something at least once a month. Kind of like Lisa was talking about with doing Zoom events versus a weekly Zoom, because there's a difference there. And so I've gotten the best reactions that way. from them. But mainly kind of tapping in on that Saturday. I just devote that whole day to them to go out. Otherwise, if my group was larger, because I go to I have 30 stops, and if my group was any larger, I'd have to break it up, throughout the week, and then everybody's getting the same thing kind of on the same day and not on the same page type deal. So then it becomes a logistical issue. I wish I had more Sunday school teachers, because I wish I could break it up that way and let them do their class. So if someone did have a structure like that, I just don't have that at the church. But if you did have a structure like that, I think logistically that would work really, really well. Plus, it gets that one-on-one involvement with their immediate mentor kind of person.
So we haven't run into the issue of students having connection problems, right, when it comes to Wi-Fi. So one idea, though, that I've seen that I think is really cool, and this is on the Stuff You Can Use Facebook page. Someone was doing a subscription box, and that's such a popular thing right now that I could see that being really beneficial for families that may not have Wi-Fi connections. What they do is, like, each month was a different theme. So I think for August, it was a joy box, and it had a couple of different activities and things you could do as a family, including some devotionals. And like, one thing I thought was really neat was they gave a box of brownie mix. And so part of it was sharing joy. So you're supposed to make them and go give them to somebody else.
That's
and
cool.
Whoever you are, shout out to you at that church. Sorry, I can't name drop, but it was really awesome. And I mean, it stuck with me to where I started thinking, how can I do this in my own context? Because kids are checked out on Zoom. And even, so especially for students who may not have access to Wi-Fi, to keep up with what we're doing online, I think that would be a really cool option to really focus in on family ministry, because I have found that is the most important thing right now, is that family discipleship time. And I've been encouraging families to lean into that as much as possible. So that's all I've got on that one, Russell. Hopefully that idea will be helpful for some.
But to go with to add to Lisa's idea, I do have one Sunday school teacher. It's actually my youth Sunday school teacher. She took it upon herself, and I thought this was a great thing. She has been mailing letters to every single one of the students. And I think that is a great idea, to use that old school tech, because, I mean, other than our current issues with the postal system going into this election, but it works. They'll get their letter in the mail, and there's just always something cool about that when as an adult, it's really cool when you get a letter because it's not a bill. But for a student to get something in the mail, I don't know, there's just something about it. I had done that last year for a different event, and I got such a good response back from that. But I sent it to every child and every youth, and it was a postcard type deal, and you could color on it. And so they could color it, and the parents took pictures of it and sent it in to the communications folks. But, there's this involvement and this engagement with that, and I think that's really cool, because then there's this physical piece to it. But I know, because I'm from up where Russell's at, and when I go visit my grandmother, my phone doesn't work at all. Like, still to this day, does not work out in Bivens, Texas. And so what would you do for a student that lives out there, other than driving to Bivens, which is 30-something miles for Russell? It would be impossible to really engage. And so that's pretty much what it boils down to, is, what are you willing to do? So
we did drop-offs. We did one full set of drop-offs. We took made a bag with candy in it and took a Coke to everybody. And we did it over. It felt like it was Army programs, because I was every day I drive out and we had another list, and we made a map of everybody, and we went around and did that. But we saved the ones who were, I did wrong what I shouldn't do. And I saved the ones who were far out for last. And so we were driving like, we have some students who are like 30 minutes out, and I didn't realize it because on the map it's only this far.
Yeah.
We've forgotten about how
yeah.
It's like, material, tell us.
I went to one student. They live on this like farm. They grow corn and stuff. And their house is in the corner, but the map doesn't show that is their house, and it doesn't really. And so I turned and I drove, and we're driving through fields and on these dirt roads and stuff, and I was like, this is just like UMY. So we've talked about things that haven't worked well, and y'all shared some of these ideas, but if you could pick one event or program or idea that really worked well, like where did you you knocked it out of the park and you were like, this was good. And if you've already shared it, you can just refer to it again, or you can pick another one if you have more. Hopefully you have more.
We did a trivia night with gift card prizes. And that was one of our most highly attended events, which still wasn't super high, right, in attendance, just because it still was on Zoom. But they had so much fun. And what it did is it kind of jump-started the rest of our Zoom nights. And so a lot of those new students, especially our middle schoolers, hopped on and participated. And it got very competitive. We had ridiculous questions, and it was just a ton of fun. So, it wasn't even... I wish I could say it was a Bible study that was the most highly attended thing, right? But it just, having that community building time was really beneficial for the longevity of what we were doing on Zoom.
Mary, how did y'all do? You just come up with the questions yourself, or?
Yeah, there was a, what is it called? I used Sidekick, which I was able to share my screen and show on Zoom, and you can customize different games and things. Yep. And so I customized a trivia, like 20 question trivia game for us. And actually we had like 5 tiebreakers in a row. And so I had to keep going in and adding questions as we went, which was so much fun because they got to chat for a little bit and went on way longer than we planned. But they loved it, so it was great.
Well, we did, I guess, kind of close to the end of the school year, beginning of summer, we did play bingo. And I put up there's a post on UMY Lead that has, there's a card generator. And so you can get 30 cards for free, or if you download, it was like $10 for 100 cards, and it's a digital card. I text you a link and you have a digital card there, and you can click it and it will block out. And when you're done, you can clear it. And then I found an online, bingo caller that I did automatically called the numbers for you. I did them live, but you could have them do it, and it still shows it up there. So I would put that up even on the screen. And so that way, if somebody saw, if somebody missed or they had to go to the bathroom, or they could come back and do that. And so, and we did it as a family event. So we sent cards out to everybody, and we had people texting us and going, call more of these numbers. And we had people who were mad because of this or whatever. And the only thing you have to watch, and Mary probably watched this too, is we broadcasted, actually, we did Zoom to Facebook Live. And so we only had like our ministry leaders on Zoom. And so we agreed we wouldn't, we can't win. So, so everybody saw it on Facebook Live, but we would see the numbers ahead of time. So if you had any sort of mix, you had to make sure that everybody's watching on the Facebook. But it was a family event. So we had families who sat down with 5 or 6 kids, 5 or 6 people in their family, and did the numbers. And then we did gift cards and took those gift cards out to them.
So mine's not so much a discipleship thing as much as it is like in the essence of like Sunday school or youth specific, but something that worked out really well. I've been doing a lot of stuff with my communications director, videoing, putting stuff together, and we did some really funny videos to try to promote a back to school backpack drive. And those were really successful because most of my students have Facebook, because and they have Instagram and stuff, and we posted it in both places, and they really got a kick out of it. And the different students that kind of came and do those little 3 challenges that we did, that worked really well. Got a great response from the kids, got a great response from the adults that watched it, and so got a lot of really good feedback from that. We did that little bucket challenge thing where they had to hold it up with their feet and take their socks off or whatever. That was like challenge number 2, but it was all in response to get people just to donate more towards the back to school backpack drive. And we raised like $6,000 or something like that. And we were going for $4,500. So that worked out really, really well. That's probably been the most popular thing. Like I was just looking on Facebook, and the one where we had to eat baby food had 1,200 views, which for us, we'd never broke the 1,000 view mark at the church, no matter what it was. And so that was really cool. The other thing that we did that was discipleship related, and Russell, I know you're doing this too, is I've gotten some of my students even some of my college students to record little 3 to 5 minute devos. And they're more popular than the pastors. Like people tune in to that to hear, and they're really good. My really good good students, I guess you could say. So they're very well spoken and very clear headed, and they just did a great job. I can't brag on them enough, but to have your students lead your adults in this is incredible. And that has also gotten a really good response throughout the summer. And I look forward to doing more of those interactions. Russell, you're doing a thing too, where getting them involved in doing some production stuff, and I think that's really good. It's found different ways that the youth can tap in to being a part of the church, not just being like this little group at the church. So,
and we'll touch this a little later, but I think this is definitely an opportunity for some students and some adults who have gifts and talents that they've never really used before to kind of step up and do that. So, Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to add?
So I always try to make it a big deal when sixth graders are coming into youth group. And this year specifically, 2 reasons. One, I'm new, and so I'm trying to build relationships. And 2, like starting middle school for the first day on Zoom is not as like cool as walking in as a middle schooler for the first time, and not having, like all the teachers follow you around in elementary school and stuff. And so I feel like I borrowed this idea in the name of Jesus from a friend of mine who also does this, but he says he borrowed it from me. So I'm not really sure where it came from. But I get those like kind of tacky pink flamingos, and I have welcome to the flock signs made, and I go flock all of the 6th grade yards.
That's cool.
And so I have a really large group coming in this year, and they were just so excited. They took pictures and shared it on Facebook. And that group, we've been able to do a little bit of in-person stuff this summer, very small outdoor, all of those kinds of things. But those 6th graders are more active than anybody else in the youth group. And so that's just, and they have felt really welcomed in a time where everything, like nothing is as big of a deal as it should be for them. So that's just been something that worked really well.
Wow. I hope you found that conversation encouraging and enlightening and gave you some ideas. I want to remind you that this was just part 1 and part 2 is coming up. And so here's just a quick preview of that conversation.
As I was going to say that we have to give ourselves time to rest because burnout is a real thing. And right now, the chances of burnout seem higher than usual. And so finding that time to really, truly rest. And that's not by just watching a show on TV or whatever it may be. It's really spending time resting and resting with God.
Well, we look forward to next week and to talking with you more. In the meantime, I want to ask you if you would like and subscribe and leave a review and share this conversation. Let others know what's going on so that they may listen and be encouraged and equipped and empowered for student ministry as well. That's all I have for this week. We'll see you next time.